There is no historical precedent for the year Caitlin Clark just underwent. She linked her final college season at Iowa with her WNBA rookie year with the Fever, shattering multiple records while enhancing both leagues. During this period, she wielded considerable influence as her effect reached into business, culture, and politics. Here's a summary of Caitlin Clark's year, spotlighting the awards and achievements alongside various headlines. Clark propelled the Iowa Hawkeyes to the Women's NCAA Championship for a second year in a row, ultimately succumbing to South Carolina. She set NCAA Division I records for scoring and three-pointers in both men's and women's basketball. She also secured all major National Player of the Year awards. She was chosen number 1 in the 2024 draft by Indiana. She led the Fever back to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Clark came close to a unanimous Rookie of the Year selection, placed 4th in MVP voting, and received All-Star honors. She also led the league in assists at 8.4 per game. The NCAA Women's Championship game exceeded the men's game for the first time, averaging 9 million viewers, establishing a historical high, and surpassing the men's championship by 4 million viewers. Iowa's Final Four clash against UConn and the Elite 8 game against LSU also drew over 10 million viewers, exceeding the former tournament record of 9 million from the 2023 championship game. The regular season averaged 2 million viewers on ESPN, the league's primary broadcaster. This marks the league's most watched regular season and a 170% increase compared to last year. A total of 30 games during the regular season and playoffs averaged over 1 million viewers, with 21 of those featuring the Fever. WNBA attendance surged by 48% for the season, led by the Fever, who attracted an average of 17,036 fans per game, a 418% rise from 2023. Every other team saw double-digit percentage growth in attendance. The Las Vegas Aces, Washington Mystics, and Atlanta Dream all shifted their home games against the Fever to venues with larger capacities. Clark signed an 8-year contract with Nike, valued at $28 million, the largest shoe deal ever for a women's basketball player before joining the WNBA. Although she has not yet launched a signature shoe, the brand intends to unveil one for Aja Wilson next year, and Clark's release will likely come shortly after. She also possesses notable endorsements with Gatorade and has been featured in several State Farm commercials. Despite the considerable attention Clark brought to the WNBA, she earned roughly $76,000 in her first year of a 4-year, $338,050 contract. This sparked discussions about whether her decision to go pro, instead of utilizing an extra year in college, would ultimately lead to financial loss due to the NCAA's new regulations on name, image, and likeness. There have already been numerous requests from WNBA players to raise salaries, which currently begin at around $64,000 and reach up to $250,000 annually. This is expected to change with the introduction of the next CBA by the 2026 season, possibly incorporating clauses that would increase the salaries of players already signed, like Clark. Clark competed against Angel Reese and the LSU Tigers in the NCAA tournament for 2 consecutive years, with each securing a win. Although they played different positions, these 2 athletes established a rivalry. Both were part of the 2024 WNBA draft class and became teammates for the first time as the sole 2 rookies chosen for the All-Star game. The 2 most watched WNBA regular season games of the year involved Reese's Chicago Sky and Clark's Fever. While Clark and Reese have consistently shown mutual admiration, the focus quickly shifted to issues of race. Even WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert compared the pair to a Larry Bird and Magic Johnson from the 1980s, two stars who ultimately grew to be close friends. Engelbert faced considerable criticism as the conversation spurred hate speech and racist comments from fans. During the Fever's playoff series against the Connecticut Sun, players reported facing racial remarks from fans and even receiving online death threats. Although Clark tried to minimize the discussions for much of the season, she described the racist comments as toxic and gross in a recent interview with Time, where she was honored as the magazine's Athlete of the Year. A major highlight of the summer was Clark's exclusion from Team USA. The team announced its selections for the 2024 Paris Olympics in June, opting for veterans over the young rookie. Many argued that Clark would bring an unprecedented audience to the women's team, as she has done in both the NCAA and WNBA. Team USA ultimately captured its 8th consecutive gold medal, with its final game against France drawing 8 million viewers. Few would argue that Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark is one of the leading figures in the WNBA. She was almost a unanimous selection for WNBA Rookie of the Year, broke multiple records, and was a contender for league MVP as a 22-year-old rookie. While Clark is prominent in the WNBA, there has been speculation on her standing against top shooters in the NBA, particularly after Las Vegas Aces center Aja Wilson's remarks last month concerning her ability to face an NBA star. On an episode of the Roommates Show podcast, Wilson boldly claimed that she could outplay New York Knicks guard Josh Hart in a one-on-one contest. The score would be something like 8-11 me, Wilson commented. I get the ball first? Yeah, you aren't getting it back. The difference between the quality of players Hart and James is substantial. Hart has averaged 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2, 9 assists, and 0 steals per game over his 10-year NBA career, while James has only played in 7 NBA games, netting 4 points along with 2 assists, 1 rebound, 1 block, and 1 steal. Teague also indicated that James would triumph over Wilson 20-0 as well. It's improbable that fans will ever learn who would actually win a one-on-one between Clark and James, but Teague might be undervaluing the 2024 WNBA #1 overall pick in his theory. I'm not saying you would score 0, but 8-11 sounds reasonable to me. Hart initially asserted that the score would be 11-2 in his favor, then adjusted his prediction to 11-7, which is notably more favorable than the estimation provided to Clark by Jeff Teague, a 2015 NBA All-Star, during a recent appearance on the Club 520 podcast, concerning a possible one-on-one face-off with Los Angeles Lakers rookie Bronny James. Caitlin wouldn't score at all against Bronny, man, Teague stated. She might not even take a shot, man. He would beat her by 60 points. He would definitely win 20-0. Bronny's younger brother, Bryce James, would also beat her 20-0. He is far more athletic than her. He can surpass her in every way. She's a girl, man. There is no question that the Indiana Fever stood out as the most beloved basketball team in the WNBA during the 2024 regular season. This is illustrated by the attendance figures they achieved during both home and away contests, ticket prices, merchandise sales, and nearly every other measure of a team's popularity. Former Iowa Hawkeyes star Caitlin Clark, who is already likely the biggest name in women's basketball history, at just 22 years old and having completed 1 professional season, is the key factor behind Indiana's appeal. While the WNBA has previously hosted games outside the United States, the 2023 and 2024 WNBA Canada Games were held in Toronto and Edmonton. The Atlanta Dream played a preseason game against the Great Britain women's national team in Manchester, England in 2011, And another WNBA preseason game took place in Monterrey, Mexico in 2004. Clark and the Fever competing internationally would certainly attract much more attention than any prior international events. The Dream and Seattle Storm are slated to take part in a third WNBA Canada game, the first regular season match outside the U.S., on August 15, 2025. It will be intriguing to see which nation the WNBA selects to host the Fever if and when this anticipated international game actually takes place. In a December 23rd article, Tom Friend of the Sports Business Journal reported that the WNBA is actively working to utilize Clark and the Fever's popularity to draw a global audience. The WNBA is aware of Clark's stardom and, as per sources, will ultimately schedule a Fever game overseas to capitalize on her Q rating. Friend noted. A Q rating, or Q score, is, according to Wikipedia, a metric of the recognition and attractiveness of a brand, celebrity, company, or entertainment product, e.g., television show, used in the United States. Friend added, stating, "Privately, the aim is to promote the Fever as if they're America's team." Indiana Fever General Manager Amber Cox has come forward to justify the team's disputed decision to leave backup center Temi Fagbenle unprotected in the WNBA expansion draft, a move that has displeased fans. Fagbenle, a significant contributor to the Fever's achievements last season, was swiftly acquired by the league's newest team, the Golden State Valkyries, leading to dissatisfaction among Fever supporters. In a recent episode of the In Case You Missed It podcast with Christina Williams, Cox spoke about the backlash, explaining the rationale behind the team's difficult choice. It's genuinely part of a broader strategy, which hopefully everyone will witness unfold over the offseason, Cox stated. These decisions are never straightforward, but they're made with a long-term view in mind. Cox's comments did little to soothe exasperated fans, who consider the departure of Fagbenle a significant setback. Known for her dependability and defensive prowess, Fagbenle was regarded as a crucial element of the Fever's attempts to regain standing in the WNBA. While Cox assured that more changes are on the horizon, the pressure is mounting. The Fever faces a pivotal offseason, with the future of two-time All-Star Kelsey Mitchell uncertain. Mitchell, who averaged 2 points per game last season, alongside rising star Caitlin Clark, is set to become an unrestricted free agent in January. Losing Mitchell would be a substantial loss for a team already struggling from Fagbenle's departure. Fans are also keen to discover how the Fever intend to navigate the WNBA free agency period, which Cox stated will be critical to their strategy. "We understand the enthusiasm of our fans and their bond with our players," Cox added. "We're committed to building a roster that can compete at the highest level." The Fever's offseason decisions will be closely monitored as fans eagerly await the next chapter in the team's narrative. For now, however, Cox's appeal to trust the process faces a tough reception from a fan base yearning for clarity and results.